Do you think Iran will strike the Strait of Hormuz and destroy their economy and
That is
impact the rest of the world economically?
Yeah, I think that's an act of desperation that takes place at the end, if it takes place at all. Shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, attacking the oil infrastructure of its neighboring states is something Iran has promised to do if their nuclear facilities were attacked. But right now, again, I think one of the objectives of having Israel go in alone is that it keeps the United States military fist held as a reserve, as a threat looming over the horizon. And if Iran does shut down the Strait of Hormuz, if it does attack neighboring oil infrastructure, it invites the Americans to intervene. So I think it's in Iran's best interest at this point in time not to expand the conflict, not to strike American bases, not to shut the Strait of Hormuz, not to attack infrastructure. Now, Israel has promised that if Iran retaliated, Israel would strike Iran's oil production capability. If Israel does that, that changes the game, because Iran's not going to just sit there and allow
a second wave was just launched. The IDF confirms the launch of a second wave of Iranian missiles against Israel.
Yep. So this looks like it could be a long night for Israel then.
Continue, please.
No, I mean, if this happens, this could be a long night for Israel. Again, I believe it's how I would do it. I would launch a wave, and then I would collect intelligence, and then use that intelligence to fine-tune my second wave, and then launch that wave. Because what you want is the final wave of attacks to come in, and Israel not have any ability to intercept, etc. These initial attacks that are happening are designed to absorb the ballistic missile defense capabilities of Israel and the United States, and to gather intelligence. The final attack is when the ballistic missile defense capabilities have been exhausted, or you have a solution to them, and you come in and you hit what you need to hit on that final one. So if this is a second attack, I believe we're probably in for a long night of at least 5 or 6 waves of attacks.
So essentially, if Iran is able to launch 1,000 missiles, and a lot of them do strike, if a few hundred missiles do strike Israel, do you think Israel will de-escalate the war?
It depends what they hit.
Sort of peace agreement?
Well, it depends what they hit. I mean, if it's one thing for Netanyahu to talk about, the Israeli people need to be strong. Israel's never been hit like this. Israel's never been hit like this. And if Iran is able to come in and shut out the lights, if Iran is able to hit the Dimona reactor, if Iran is able to kill senior Israeli officials, if Iran is able to strike terror into the hearts of the Israelis to the point where a significant portion of the Israeli population starts fleeing Israel, depopulation of Israel is the death of Israel. The Israeli government would be foolish to continue this, especially if Iran had continued capacity to strike the next night and the next night and the next night. And I do believe that's the only hope Iran has. I wrote an article about this earlier today where I said Iran's only hope is to strike Israel so hard that Israel is compelled, because of domestic political pressure and reality, to stop this campaign and get the United States to try and come in and broker some sort of arrangement, or get the Russians to come in and broker some sort of arrangement.
How could the US be dragged into this war further than already is? Do you think Iran will attack the US bases despite Marco Rubio's warnings? And we're seeing, by the way, live here, we're seeing the second wave of attacks. These are Israeli missiles heading towards Israel. And we'll see how many hit Israel, if any, this time around. Scott, go ahead.
I think right now Iran is looking at a problem set that is very difficult. That is, how do you defeat Israel? I can tell you how you don't defeat Israel. You don't defeat Israel by getting the United States directly involved in this war. And what I mean by directly is kinetically involved with American aircraft, American bombs, American rockets. So I believe it's in Iran's interest right now to keep the United States physically out of this war. And you do that by limiting your strikes to Israel. There's no reason right now for Iran to strike American military bases. That would just complicate the picture, complicate the problem set for Iran. Iran needs this war to come to an end soon. To do that, Iran needs to smack, excuse my language, the dog poop out of Israel. so hard that Israel has no choice but to turn to the United States and Russia and say, okay, we need this thing to end now, and then get a negotiated settlement. But that won't happen if you bring in the United States. If you bring in the United States, we're taking this to a completely different level, one that I don't think Iran has the capacity to survive.
We're seeing this attack. Seems the Iranian missiles we're seeing on the video right now. It seems that it's less than the previous attack. How do these waves work? Is every wave usually bigger than the one prior? Are they usually about the same amount of missiles? Do they vary? How do these things work generally?
Well, one of the things you have to realize is that we're looking at a fixed camera location. And so Israel is big. We don't know what the target is. When I think these waves, when they come in, they will be saturation waves over a given a target deck. So let's say the first wave of attacks was against the Kiryat. We may get visual confirmation of that. I think we saw a couple missiles hit. But what if the second wave is against Haifa? This camera may not see that. What you may be seeing is missile launches going up to intercept missiles, but you won't see the actual impact. Or if they attack Dimona, again, we won't see the missiles coming into Dimona or hitting some of the airfields that are in Ramat Gan and other airfields that are in the north and in the south. So it's a little deceptive being a prisoner of this camera that you may not see the incoming
You're
missiles.
right. I just got another footage. I've got another footage now. I'm not sure if the editors could play it. It's just the latest post for the team. It's the latest post on my profile. And you see missiles flying over Lebanon towards Israel. That could be towards Haifa, as you said,
Haifa,
Scott.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see if that's the target. Where are the Israeli nuclear facilities or the main bases, the main strategic bases for Israel? Is it in Tel Aviv, near Tel Aviv? Is it near Haifa?
No, the Dimona reactor is sort of the headquarters of the Israeli nuclear facility. That's where they do their nuclear production and manufacturing. The missile bases are actually located along the coast south of Tel Aviv towards Ashdod. There's missile bases there. The Israelis would probably, based upon past precedent, have moved the missiles out of those bases into deployment areas in the Negev desert. And then also, Israeli aircraft have the ability to carry. So you'll have bunkers at various Israeli air bases that have nuclear capable aircraft where nuclear weapons could be stored. So it'll be dispersed to different areas. But the main target, the political target, would be the Dimona reactor. That is that's the target set that everybody identifies with Israel's nuclear program.
Another interesting thing that surprised me, Scott, is Hezbollah. Hezbollah distanced themselves from getting involved in this attack. I would have expected Iran's proxies to immediately get involved and support Iran, to even attack Israel before Iran attacks. Yet we saw limited attack from the Houthis, but more importantly, Hezbollah saying, we're not going to get involved, at least not yet. Is that expected? Does that show Hezbollah breaking away from Iran as Iran is weakened?
It's not that Hezbollah is breaking. What people tend to forget is that Hezbollah is no longer simply a resistance group or a militia. Hezbollah is a political party, and it's part of the Lebanese government. And for Hezbollah to survive, it must have the support of the Lebanese people. And at this juncture, the Lebanese government, especially since they had an election with a new pro-Western president, Aoun, the Lebanese government isn't going to allow Hezbollah to become an active participant in this conflict. This is a conflict between Israel and Iran. This is not an extension of, for instance, the war of escalation in support of Gaza or Hamas. This is about Iran's nuclear infrastructure and the Iranian regime. And Hezbollah, it's a resistance movement whose legitimacy comes from defending Lebanon against Israel. And so, especially in its weakened condition, I would be very surprised if Hezbollah took action, because what's going to happen is this conflict between Israel and Iran is going to end. And if Hezbollah behaves irresponsibly, it will pay a price afterwards. It'll be increased isolation, increased delegitimization, and potentially, a shunning of Hezbollah by the Lebanese people, which will diminish its impact politically in Lebanon. So I'm not surprised by Hezbollah's reticence in getting involved. This, frankly speaking, isn't their fight. This is between Israel and Iran, not between Israel and Lebanon. And Hezbollah is a Lebanese political party.
So I'm getting reports here from CNN. Dozens of rockets keep hitting Israeli territory in a relentless barrage. Explosions heard are from intercepts or rockets striking the ground. The Israeli military says the attacks are ongoing with no wars in sight. As you said, there's going to be a continuous barrage, and it just depends on the missiles that Iran has left and the launches that it has left, and the ability to launch them, and that will determine what happens next in this war. Scott, how did we get here? Like, it's just sometimes it's difficult to kind of step away and just realize that we're in the midst of a war between Iran and Israel. Something I used to tell my team in the early days